Hi everybody, Dacob here. Welcome back to the Fashion Bunker. Chanel lawsuit. Will this mean that we have finally reached the end of all Chanel bag and clothes authenticators? Is it the end of the road for authenticators of Chanel goods? Will they no longer be allowed to issue certificates of authentication? Chanel has pushed that envelope and is trying really hard to set precedent. In a New York courtroom, none other, in a lawsuit against what goes around comes around, and it gets juicier and juicier with every twist and every turn. Listen to this. But before we get to the details, subscribe to my channel here on the tubes. Push the join button next to the subscription button. Become a member today. Get access to extra perks. You can also join me on Patreon. Superdacob all spelled together there as well. For extra perks, this video is being filmed live in front of a live virtual audience. I live stream several times a week, so come join the live chats. Hi, my co-chatters. Johnny says, wow, isn't that shocking? That's crazy, says Sweet Things. Yes. So I have several articles here that report about this, but one in particular from the fashionlaw.com. Now, you know, when it says law in the title of the magazine, you know we mean business. Okay, but everything I say in this video is for entertainment purposes only, not rooted in truths or facts. Everything's alleged in just my opinion. So they say that Chanel seeks permanent injunction in resale case against what goes around comes around. And they list a few points that kind of pop out of the transcripts from, the legal documents from the lawsuit. Very, very interesting. So basically, now there's several points here that we're going to analyze. So during the New York trial, the federal jury sided with Chanel because already certain decisions have been made and the jury has sided with Chanel. And they're saying, the jury said, what goes around comes around, the Preloved resale store, is liable for, one, and this is from the transcripts, willful trademark infringement, false association, and unfair competition based upon its unauthorized use of Chanel's trademarks and other indicia of Chanel. Two, willful trademark infringement based upon its creation and use of various hashtags containing Chanel or Coco Chanel to advertise and market products on social media. Let me stop for a second on this point. For those of you who on Instagram use the hashtag Chanel amongst other hashtags and the posts you post on Instagram that have the hashtag Chanel, have you noticed how those posts are usually the ones that get taken down by Instagram and you get a notification that says taken down for infringing copyright of third-party claimant for selling goods that you're not allowed to sell because you're not that third party, when you weren't even selling anything on Instagram? You were just photographing your own trinket you got from Chanel and you wanted to put a hashtag Chanel on it, and they deleted it. And there you go. Kev says in the chats, Dacob called it. Yeah, I'm telling you, this has been going on for years and nobody wanted to talk about it. I kept raising awareness about this. Now people are waking up, and looky, eggs and cookie in the lawsuit. Chanel is not only going after us on Instagram, and we're not even selling shit. We're just spending a ton of money buying these products from Chanel, and we're happy to share them with the rest of the world in photos. We like to photograph the pieces we love. No, we cannot use the Chanel hashtag allegedly either, because some of us get flagged when we do. It's insane. Point 3, willful trademark infringement based upon its sale and offering for sale of non-genuine Chanel branded products, including 13 handbags bearing voided stolen Chanel serial numbers from Renato Corti. 2. 1 handbag bearing Chanel serial number, and then they give a serial number. 3. 51 handbags bearing voided Chanel serial numbers. I don't know how that differs from B, but whatever. D. 779 Chanel branded point of sale items. And E. Materially altered or repaired Chanel branded products. And 4. Willful trademark infringement based upon its sale of counterfeit Chanel branded products. 5. Willfully engaging in false advertising. They've been awarded or asked for $4 million in compensation. But amongst this list that keeps going of issues that we're having, one thing pops particularly out from all of these other accusations and points. And that would be that Chanel wants, well, in the new injunction, because Chanel is pleading or asking for an injunction against what goes around comes around. In the new injunction, hear this one out, you guys. This is very important, especially for authenticators out there. And I've called this one as well months ago. And then some authenticators came from me and said, how dare you speak out against authenticators? Well, look what's going down now. In the new injunction, Chanel wants what goes around comes around to refrain from alerting consumers that the Chanel product it advertises or sells are authentic unless it has proof that they are, in fact, authentic. What does this mean? This means that Chanel is asking for an injunction. Basically, Chanel is saying, asking the judge and the court and the jury to block what goes around comes around from the right to issue authenticity certificates. Because Chanel says, you, what goes around comes around, you cannot possibly authenticate a Chanel bag or a Chanel product as authentic or non-authentic because you are not Chanel. You are not trained by Chanel to authenticate. You cannot issue an authenticity certificate of a Chanel product because you are not Chanel. In other words, only Chanel can issue an authenticity certificate for Chanel goods, in my opinion. No, I mean, that's what they say, in their opinion. But in my opinion, and I said at the beginning of the video, everything I say in this video is for entertainment purposes only, not rooted in truths or facts. Everything's alleged and just my opinion. So that is valid for the entire duration of this video and every video I make. What does this mean? If they get through with this and the court sides with them, and they have, if they fully side with Chanel and they say, yeah, okay, we're not going to allow anymore what goes around comes around to issue authenticity certificates for Chanel goods, that sets precedent, you guys. That means that all of y'all's authenticators out there are in deep trouble because Chanel can come for you next. Because nobody's allowed to issue an authenticity certificate of a Chanel bag but Chanel. That's what they want. Unless they have permission from Chanel to issue an authenticity certificate. Or if they have proof that the product is authentic. But based on opinion, you can't just say, well, it is, you know what I mean? Here's an authenticity certificate because I looked at the bag and I deem the bag authentic. So here's an authenticity certificate from my company that states that the bag is authentic. Chanel doesn't want that, right? So if they get through with this, all authenticators are going to lose sooner or later their jobs. Maybe even their businesses. I mean, if a powerful company like this comes for you, good luck. You know. But who gives proof that a product is authentic? How can they prove that the bag is authentic? Well, Chanel can give proof. I mean, you can technically also, if it's a Preloved store and a customer comes into a Preloved store and they want to sell a Chanel bag, their Chanel bag, through you, and you are the consignment store, you might ask for proof of authenticity as well, right? So the person who owns the bag, they can say, well, I bought this bag at Chanel 10 years ago. I still have the original bill. Now, bills can be forged. Receipts can be forged. You know, Chanel has advanced their system of receipts now, for example. So in the past, just a couple of years ago, when you would buy a Chanel bag, even though they had their little stickers with serial numbers in them, on your bill, receipt, proof of purchase, they would write the product number of the bag, the price you paid, your name as a customer. They put your name and your address on the receipt, on the bill, and there's a date, and then, you know. But they did not place in the bill the authenticity number. Shortly before, Chanel introduced those little metal plaques inside of the bags and wallets on chain. They started already towards the end era of the little authenticity stickers inside of their bags. They started printing that serial number of the bag onto the receipt. Then, when they introduced the metal plaques with those random codes on them, they started also implementing the technique of printing on your receipt that code that is in the bag on the metal little plaque. So that helps a little bit, but not really too much, because also that can be forged. You can make a bill with a little code that matches the code in the bag. But now that purchase of the bag is connected to that code, it's in the Chanel system as sold, and then if you were to take that bag with that bill to Chanel, into a boutique, into a Chanel boutique, if the sales associate wanted to, they could look up into the system that product number of the bag together with the authenticity code, which is on the bill. Those two together, when you look it up in the system, will show the sales associate in the system exactly where the bag was sold, what bag it is, does the bag match the code, the authenticity code, or not, and it will also show in the system the date when that product was sold. So technically, all of those elements can already help you a lot determine whether or not the bag is authentic or not. But the staff at Chanel are not always going to, just want to help you out like that. Technically, they're not allowed to. So it's not like you can just walk into Chanel and say, hey, can you check this bill and this bag for me? Let's just see. No. They're not going to do that. Try it out. You'll see. Unless you got connections and the sales associate knows you personally, you've been shopping there a lot, then they might do this favor for you, allegedly. But otherwise, it's really difficult. And let's not forget that you can also steal a code. This is why I always tell you, when you're unboxing any luxury item that has authenticity serial numbers on it, hide them when you film them if you're unboxing them on camera, because you don't want, fakers to steal that code and utilize it, because it's the best thing you can do. You're unboxing a bag, you're showing them exactly what bag it is, what colorway, what material, what hardware, and then you show the code, and then they know that that code matches that specific bag, and bam, they can go and copy it. So be very careful. Minnie Jeffrey says, in some way I understand them not wanting external companies to certify their products, but it sure makes secondhand market very difficult. Exactly, Minnie Jeffrey. It makes the secondhand market super difficult. And it also, you know, begs the question, are authenticators and their businesses now doomed? Are their days counted? Tightly woven in a last effort to preserve those 3 or 4 grains of sand from the sand clock that is ticking? That's the question. Corey says, this could apply to literally anything, cars, antiques. I hope the courts pay attention at what kind of precedent they are setting up. I completely agree with you, Corey. On one end, I'm not a fan of authenticators because I personally believe that the authenticators cannot know fully with 100% certainty if a product is authentic or not. They just can't. Okay. Technically, only the person who made that product can know. And even then, that same person might be sometimes thinking when they see the product, if you made a product 10 years ago and somebody comes to you and says, did you make this 10 years ago? You might remember, you might not. You know, it's tricky. And also fakes are getting better and better and better. So very, very, very tricky. But relying solely on the goodwill of an authenticator company to tell me whether or not my Chanel bag is authentic or not, I personally would never trust an authenticator. So I agree with Chanel that these authenticators should not have the right to kind of imply that their certificates of authenticity are like the end all and be all. You know what I mean? Like, I agree with Chanel because it can mess with the end consumer, because the end consumer might think, well, okay, this bag is authentic. And then Chanel says, you know, and then they take it to repairs at Chanel, to the spa, you know, and they want to pay extra to get a repair. And then Chanel tells them, we can't repair this bag. We can't spa this bag because it's not authentic. And then you're like, but I have an authenticity certificate from what goes around comes around that this bag is authentic. And what is Chanel going to tell you? Well, if I were Chanel, I would also tell you, I'm sorry, boo-boo, but an authenticity certificate from what goes around comes around has no power at Chanel. I am Chanel. I am telling you this bag is not authentic. So you can take, you know, not me. I'm acting as if I were, you know what I mean? But you're bringing me here an authenticity certificate from some random place and telling me that that is law. No. But, so I agree with Chanel on that. But where I find it very difficult and very, very dangerous is when they want to, you know, veto the authentication, because this is what I smell here is I smell a rat. And even though we heard Bruno Pavlovsky in an interview recently say that, oh no, Bruno Pavlovsky, the president of Chanel SAS, he was saying, no, Chanel does not wish to prevent its customers from purchasing a product from Chanel and then deciding to sell it, you know, because they don't like it anymore, or they grew out of it, or it's too tight for them, too small, or they just changed their mind and the return deadline has passed, and so they decide to sell the piece, okay, as pre-loved. He kind of said it in an interview a short while ago that Chanel has nothing against that. Chanel is not trying to prevent its own customers from selling on the pieces that they bought from Chanel, as long as they don't do it professionally. But I'm like, yeah, but your end game is technically you want to avoid pre-loved sale of Chanel. You're chipping at all these options that people have to purchase Chanel goods on a pre-loved market in a somewhat safe environment, and you're trying to destroy that environment so that it becomes harder and harder and harder to purchase pre-loved Chanel. That's what I'm suspecting is happening. I don't have a magic crystal ball. I'm just speculating here. But what I'm speculating here is that they're trying to allegedly break down all the walls that facilitate pre-loved sale, while or whilst they're telling us, no, we're all, you can sell your own Chanel, what you purchased at Chanel, we're fine with you selling it on if you don't like it anymore. They're telling this to us while at the same time destroying the environment in which we can sell the Chanel items that we no longer wish to have in our possession. You see, I smell a rat. Yana Klar says, from a legal point of view, I totally understand the argument. Since years it has been asked on which base these certificates are issued. The paper has already been useless and provides false security. Yana Klar, you've said it perfectly. I completely agree with you. I've been telling you this for the longest time now. I do not trust authenticators. I don't trust authenticators. I just don't trust them. Because you can't. Even if their intentions are the best and really they want to help you out for money, but they want to help you out, I still don't trust them. Because they cannot possibly know what the brands that actually made the bags know. Period. Here's another comment from BB. I have one secondhand bag that was authenticated 4 times, but I'm still very scared that it's not the real deal. Personally, I won't go secondhand again. I just don't have peace of mind with them. You see, this is what the brands, I feel, ultimately want. They want you to be scared to buy Preloved, so that you have to go to the brand directly to purchase it new at a full retail price. And this is why I was speculating several years ago in another video of mine whether or not some of these luxury brands are actually manufacturing their own fakes to disrupt the whole pre-loved market, so that they can, they're like, oh, the fakes are like the super fakes, the super ultra king fakes, whatever they're called, to terrify the consumer, because then the consumer is going to start thinking, boy, these fakes are like so good, and I really don't want to risk buying them and then spending a ton of money on something that I thought was authentic, but then it turns out not to be. And I was speculating that some of these luxury brands were making the fakes themselves. So that would make the fakes non-fake. But if they make you believe that the authentic bag is fake, in order for you to go to the boutique to purchase at a premium cost the authentic bag, it's genius. It's like worthy of a James Bond villain, if you think about it. That gesture would be worthy of a James Bond villain, for a luxury brand to make fakes just to scare you, so that you are kind of scared into purchasing. You're kind of, that they tickle the fear out of you, so that fear drags you into their boutique, so that you end up spending the premium price in their boutique. It's a diabolical genius plan. All alleged, of course. I have no proof of anything. I'm just speculating. I have a very florid imagination, so don't listen to me. Chunky Shoes UK says, I wouldn't want to buy a bag I knew my child couldn't sell if they wanted to when I'm no longer here. I want these things to pass down. Let me know your thoughts, you guys, in the comment section down below. This is very dangerous, these games that are being played in these lawsuits, in my humble opinion. And I think Chanel is playing with fire here. I agree with them on so many points, but I also smell a rat, and I feel like their ultimate end game might be they just want Preloved to disappear altogether. Just my speculation, just my opinion. Let me know down below. Until next time, never forget to never give up on love. Thumb up this video and subscribe. Take care. Bye.